Just when many believed that Lewis Hamilton's time at Ferrari would be marked more by turbulence than triumph, the Bahrain Grand Prix flipped the script. The driver went from a Saturday filled with confusion and frustration to what looked very much like a fresh beginning on Sunday. Headlines that had focused on his difficulties shifted to highlight his ability to adapt, his progress, and, perhaps most importantly, his renewed sense of confidence. After the race, Hamilton himself said the difference between qualifying and race day was like comparing night and day. But what exactly happened during those 24 hours to spark such a transformation? Could this fifth-place finish be more than just a result? Could it be the start of something greater? Let's rewind to qualifying. Saturday was anything but smooth for Lewis. He ended up 9th on the starting grid, nearly 0.6 of a second behind his teammate Charles Leclerc. That kind of gap is significant in Formula One. It signals more than a minor tweak. It indicates a serious performance issue. And, true to form, Hamilton didn't sugarcoat anything. He was blunt in saying he simply wasn't getting the job done. It felt like a replay of his previous season with Mercedes. Frustration, confusion, and that familiar feeling of wondering why things just weren't clicking. But then came Sunday, and something clearly shifted. Hamilton gained positions and crossed the finish line in 5th. But more than the result itself, what stood out was how comfortable he looked behind the wheel. During the middle stint of the race, when Ferrari went for a double pit stop and put medium tires on both cars, Lewis looked fully in sync with the machine. In his own words, he felt connected to the car. That is huge. It wasn't just a solid stint. It was a breakthrough. According to Hamilton, his driving style finally aligned with the Ferrari's characteristics. And that is no small thing. Remember, this is someone who spent nearly 2 decades developing habits with McLaren and Mercedes machinery. Switching to Ferrari isn't just changing teams, it's about unlearning everything you thought you knew and starting from scratch. He even revealed that he used engine braking for the first time in his entire career. That's like relearning how to drive, but at over 300 kilometers per hour while 19 other drivers are breathing down your neck. The way he described the experience makes it clear that this wasn't just a good race. It was the most enlightening weekend he's had so far. Bahrain taught him what it feels like when driver and car operate in perfect harmony. And once you know that feeling, you start chasing it. You build on it. That's what makes his post-race comments so exciting. He didn't just find pace. He understood why it worked. That's the formula for progress, not just luck. So yes, the shift from Saturday's uncertainty to Sunday's recovery was massive. And if that was just the start of the process, what happens when he starts piecing it all together consistently? What exactly occurred during that middle stint that turned Hamilton from a puzzled driver into one fully locked in? The answer lies in something he mentioned almost casually, but it speaks volume. He felt in sync with the car. That word, sync, is everything. It wasn't just that Ferrari was performing better. It was that he was finally driving it the way it needed to be driven. Up until Bahrain, Hamilton was still trying to make the car respond to his instincts and deeply ingrained habits. But Ferrari doesn't follow the same rules. It demands a different rhythm, a new feel, a unique style. And for the first time, he stopped wrestling with the car and started flowing with it. This was not just a change in perception. It was technical. Hamilton spoke about relying on engine braking, something he had never used before. That is no small adjustment. It is a completely new way to manage speed and corner entry. He also mentioned adapting to Brembo brakes after a career using Carbon Industries. To most people, that might sound like switching shoe brand, but to a Formula One driver, it's like rewiring your nervous system and still competing at the highest level. And yet Hamilton is doing it, slowly but surely. There's also a psychological angle. Hamilton admitted he was stuck in old patterns after so many years with the same team, the same engineers, the same everything. That kind of continuity provides comfort, but it also breeds rigidity. Joining Ferrari forced him to become a rookie again. Bahrain was the moment he embraced that humility and said, "All right, let's truly learn how this works." And that mindset shift, from trying to shape Ferrari into something familiar to letting it be what it is, might have been the biggest revelation of all. Bahrain wasn't just about cleaner laps or better tire management. It was about Hamilton finally speaking the car's language. And when that happens, even briefly, everything changes. Now let's take a look at the other side of the Ferrari garage. Charles Leclerc had been comfortably ahead of Hamilton all season until now. And Lewis was the first to admit that. He said he was far off Leclerc in the last 2 rounds, both in terms of setup and overall pace. But in Bahrain, we saw signs that the gap began to close, not just in lap times, but in understanding. Hamilton mentioned that he had been experimenting too much with setup, throwing out random ideas just to see what stuck. But gradually he began aligning more closely with Leclerc's baseline configuration. That matters because in his 6th season with Ferrari, Leclerc knows the car's sweet spots and limits inside out. If Hamilton is now starting to feel comfortable with setups that Leclerc has already mastered, that's a sign he's beginning to absorb Ferrari's DNA. The double pit stop strategy during the race also highlighted something else. Both drivers were incredibly quick on the medium tires. That stint wasn't just great for Hamilton, it was great for the whole team. It showed the car has serious pace when in its optimal window. More importantly, it showed that Hamilton now knows what that window feels like. He is no longer copying Leclerc. He is starting to understand things for himself. And we all know how that goes. When Lewis begins to feel at one with the car, when setup becomes an extension of his hands, he transforms. We have seen it again and again. The man doesn't need the most dominant car. He just needs one he trusts. And Bahrain might have been the weekend that trust started to form. So yes, Leclerc still holds the edge. But Hamilton is no longer lost. He is learning, adapting, closing in. And when that starts to happen, things inside that red garage get very interesting. But why does any of this matter? Why put so much emphasis on a 5th-place finish? Because it's not about Bahrain itself. It's about what it represents. Hamilton didn't score a good result because of chaos or luck. He unlocked performance through understanding, adaptation, and experience. And that combination is lethal when paired with Hamilton's raw skill. The season is still in its early stages, and while McLaren seems poised for a 2nd straight title, the fight for podiums and midfield supremacy is wide open. And now, after Bahrain, Hamilton may have re-entered that conversation. He currently sits in 7th place in the championship, only 5 points behind Andrea Kimi Antonelli. That's a single strong weekend away from flipping the narrative. And let's not forget, this is Lewis Hamilton. When he finds his groove, he doesn't just catch up, he dominates. If Bahrain was the weekend he finally started to feel at home in the Ferrari, then this isn't the end of a legend. It might be the beginning of a redemption arc dressed in red. Even a few podiums from now on would be massive, not just for Lewis, but for Ferrari as well. They have a car that can fight at the front, but they need both drivers delivering results if they want to take on McLaren or capitalize on any mistakes from Mercedes. If Lewis starts threatening the top 5 regularly, everything changes. Suddenly it's not just about damage limitation while McLaren wins races. It's about Hamilton lurking, ready to pounce. So yes, it matters. Because if Bahrain was the moment Hamilton finally understood this car, then it's not too late. Not even close. With the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix just around the corner, the question now is whether Bahrain was an outlier or the start of something greater. Jeddah is a completely different beast. Faster, narrower, and unforgiving of hesitation. But if Hamilton's newfound comfort with the Ferrari holds, we could see him even closer to Leclerc, or maybe even ahead. The more experience he gains with this car, the more dangerous he becomes. There's a quiet confidence building beneath the surface, and we all know what happens when Hamilton feels in control. He doesn't just perform, he rolls, and we can't ignore what's happening across the rest of the grid. Mercedes has officially entered the Antonelli era. While promising for the long term, they're clearly in a rebuilding phase. Red Bull might still look strong, but with Sergio Pérez gone and Yuki Tsunoda stepping in as second driver, they're no longer untouchable. The door is cracked open, not wide, but enough, and Hamilton knows how to walk through it. There's a long season ahead. But if Bahrain was the weekend Lewis Hamilton cracked Ferrari's code, then Jeddah will be where he proves it wasn't a one-off. And if he does, the rest of the grid may need to start checking their mirrors. Because the king might not be wearing silver anymore, but he could be just getting started in red. So there you have it. Is Lewis Hamilton finally in sync with Ferrari and more dangerous than he has been all season? Bahrain may not have given him a trophy, but it gave him something even more valuable: belief and confidence. His first real taste of what's possible in red. And if that middle stint was any indication, maybe the paddock should stop treating him like a relic and start seeing him again as a podium threat. The championship is far from over. It's only just heating up. Think this is the beginning of Hamilton's redemption arc? Or was Bahrain just a one-off moment? If you're excited to see what he does next in Saudi Arabia, leave a like and tell us in the comment. Subscribe for more Formula One breakdowns, bold predictions, and all the beautiful chaos this season promises to deliver. Because if Hamilton really knows what needs to be done, this season is about to explode.